Every year, without being told, without being forced, people came. From the north, traders who had walked this road every year of their lives, and their fathers before them.
From the east, travelers crossing empires just to reach one valley. From the south, the poor, the powerful, the forgotten, and the mighty, all walking the same road.
The Kaaba, then Arabia's memory, stood at the center of it all. Whatever they were outside this valley, king or slave, rich or ruined, here they were the same. One man watched the caravans pass his gates, and every year his hatred grew. His name was Abraha, and nothing about him was given, everything was taken.
He began as property, a slave owned by a Roman merchant in a city whose name history forgot.
The world he was born into had two superpowers, Rome and Persia, and Arabia sat between them like an unclean bride.
Yemen had been ruled for centuries by Jewish kings, wealthy, ancient, deeply hostile to the Christian world across the water. Across the Red Sea, Abyssinia, Christian, powerful, and watching Yemen with centuries of grievance. Then Yemen's king made the decision that would end his entire dynasty. He massacred thousands of Christians in the city of Najran. The news reached Rome, and Rome, still Christian, still the most powerful empire on earth, had a decision to make.
Rome told Abyssinia, "Go finish Yemen. We will back you."
It was, yeah.
Abyssinia sent 100,000 soldiers across the Red Sea, and buried inside that army was one slave who fought like he had a destiny to fulfill.
Yemen fell. A 500-year dynasty erased in one campaign, and the slave who fought hardest was handed the keys.
He moved through Yemen, its land, its soldiers, its gold, and made a decision nobody expected.
And refused to return one soldier, one coin, one acre to the empire that sent him.
An army is being assembled. The hour.
The king of Abyssinia sent an army to bring Yemen back, and to bring Abraha's head with it. That army marched to Yemen.
Halt! What is this delay? Forward, I command you!
They killed their own general, and laid his head at Abraha's gate as proof of loyalty. Abraha accepted, and doubled his army without losing a single man.
His reputation traveled faster than his army, and most of Arabia bent to him before he even arrived.
He had everything a king could take by force. But the one thing Arabia gave freely, it gave to Mecca, not to him. Every year the caravans passed his gates, and not one pilgrim turned to see what he had built. He was the most powerful man in Arabia, and Arabia's most important journey had nothing to do with him.
He called his architects, not his generals. This fight, he decided, would be won with beauty. He built for years, sparing nothing, importing craftsmen from every civilization, until he had created the most beautiful building Arabia had ever seen. When it was finished, Arabia stopped to look, then turned north, and kept walking. He sent messengers to every tribe. Come here. This is the new center. This is where God is. The caravans kept moving north. The church stood magnificent and completely alone. You cannot build what lives inside people's chests. You can only try to destroy what they walk toward. So he put his finger on Mecca and called his generals. He assembled 60,000 soldiers, and at their front, Mahmud, a war elephant whose footsteps shook the ground a mile in every direction. Arabia had never produced a force like this, and Abraha rode it north with the certainty of a man who had never lost. They moved north, and the desert that had always been free began to feel, for the first time, occupied. News moved faster than soldiers, and every tribe that heard it turned toward Mecca and asked the same question.
Abraha, I bring gifts to parley! Stand aside! The march continues!
Some tribes fought, some negotiated. Abraha didn't stop for neither. People stepped aside,
not just from fear, but because something in them understood this was not their fight to fight. Among everything seized, 200 camels, branded, belonging to the chief of Mecca.
Abraha's army is coming!
Mecca received the news, and for the first time the city went silent. Then Abraha saw it, the thing he had crossed a come to destroy. It was smaller than he imagined, and somehow that made him angrier. Abraha sent one word into Mecca,
Bring me your chief.
and the gate opened, and out walked an old man. Abdul Muttalib, grandfather of a child not yet born, walked towards 60,000 soldiers like a man who had already decided the outcome. He sat before the most powerful man in Arabia, and the tent felt like it tilted toward him. He asked for his 200 camels, and the laughter that filled that tent was the laughter of men who did not understand what they were sitting across from.
I thought you were a man of courage, but you speak only of camels. What about the house? I am the owner of these camels, so I speak for them. The house has its own owner, and he will speak for it.
He walked out, and the silence he left behind stayed in that tent long after the generals had found other things to say. Every man, every woman, every child climbed into the mountains and left the Kaaba alone in the valley with its Lord.
Advance!
At dawn, Abraha gave the order. 60,000 men moved toward a city that had surrendered itself to something they couldn't see. Mahmud walked in every direction that morning, and nothing on earth changed that. Then someone looked up and pointed at the horizon, and the army that had never stopped for anything stopped. From the direction of the sea, birds Arabia had never seen before and would never see again, each one carrying 3 small stones. Historians call it a plague. The Quran calls it the work of God. Either way, 60,000 men were gone before the sun went down. Abraha died on the road back, his body failing in the desert the way his army had failed in the valley. And Mecca became something new, not just a holy place, but a promise could not touch. And that same night, in a city that had just been protected by something no army could explain, a child was born. His name was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.